It's been a while, and if you have seen my older videos, hopefully you saw my top 50 movies list. I re-looked over the list and rewatched the video, and I feel like I ranked it horribly. I forgot everything from some of those movies, and I have no idea why they were even on the list. Now that I'm back in school, I've been putting on movies while I do homework, and I decided to rewatch some classics and watch some new movies. I have a full list on IMDb that I'm updating, and my first movie marathon involved all the Pixar films. Growing up, I watched Nemo, WALL-E, and Up, but I forgot Up completely, and there's both the classics and new films that I had not watched. I decided to go through each movie I couldn't remember or didn't watch, and now we're here. In this video, I will be ranking every single Pixar movie, and just a reminder, it's my opinion, so everyone will disagree. Let me know in the comments what are your favorites, what you dislike, and what you would change around. If you're new to this channel, subscribe and like for more content like this, and some gaming things as well. Without further ado, let's start the list. Before we start ranking, let me show you how I will rank each movie, just so you guys know how my scale works. On the tier list, S tier will consist of 10s, A tier will consist of 9s and 8s, B tier will be 7s, C tier will be 6s and 5s, D tier will be 4s, 3s and 2s, and E tier will be 1s. Now, let me emphasize it, since I know my friends are deaf when I mention, but 7 means good. I do not know why people think when I rate a movie a 7 that it's a bad thing. So before you guys get mad at me for rating movies a 7, I'm letting you know that the movie is good. This will be a random assortment of movies, by the way, because I know people will get bored near the end if I go by release order. Now let's get started. Oh, and yeah, spoilers ahead. Finding Nemo is a top 2 childhood movie for me. I watched this movie so many times that I did not need to re-watch this movie to complete my marathon. I love everything about this movie, and it is a certified classic. There's so many good side things in this movie that you forget that it was all in one film, like the dentist crew, the sharks, Crush and Squirt. This movie has so many lovable characters that it really elevates the enjoyment of the movie. I originally had this at a 9, but after a quick refresh of whatever I couldn't remember, I decided that this movie is a 10. It is perfect. I know we're starting this list off immediately with a S tier, but there isn't much. A long-awaited sequel to this classic, and unfortunately, it couldn't match the quality of the first one. Finding Nemo was a very hard film to follow up, but after years of anticipation, the movie just couldn't do enough. It wasn't a bad movie at all, I just felt like they didn't do much. Dory's origin story is a very good plot for a sequel, but I think the biggest flaw is the lack of screen time for Nemo and Marlin. I think the side characters were solid, but not as good as the first one. The Seals and Destiny were my favorite side characters. Hank was an overpushed character in my opinion. He wasn't as entertaining as the others, and I think that he shouldn't have been a huge part of the plot. It seems that they would revolve a third movie around him, but I don't think that it would be as good. Nemo and Marlin were so important in the first film that even though they were chasing Dory the whole movie, it felt like they were missing the whole time since they were separated from the main plot. I think the movie did its job by telling Dory's origin story, and did a solid job with introducing a new environment and side characters. Unfortunately, the lack of quality compared to the first one drops the movie a lot more than from what I saw in the first watch. The movie was solid, but I wouldn't say it was a good movie. This movie is going into the C tier for me. Just a solid 6. Did its job, wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. This movie was way darker than I remembered. I totally forgot how gruesome and brutal Syndrome is as a villain, and he is one of the most twisted in all of Pixar. The story was amazing, and I think that this movie had great action sequences too. Frozone and Dash are my favorites in this film, but all of the main superheroes were great too. The only bad thing about this movie for me was that it felt so long, but the movie was still great. This movie is going into the A tier for me. I loved how this film immediately picks up from the ending of the first, so there isn't a random filler gap for the story. I love how it still shows how the world doesn't want superheroes, really showing the struggle. The villain plot twist is amazing, and I think my favorite part of this film is the Jack vs. Raccoon sequence. This movie is not as good as the first in my opinion, but it is a good movie, so I will be sliding it into the B tier. I really liked this movie, and it was much more heartwarming than I remember. Boo is the MVP of this movie, and the journey between her and Sully is adorable. This movie has a great concept, and every character is unique and enjoyable. I'm sliding this movie into the A tier. This movie is super overhated, and I personally enjoy it more than the first. I think the games were very entertaining to watch, and it was also super funny to see how Randall used to be a good guy. As good as the first film was, I just personally enjoyed this much more since I love the university environment and the relatable student experience throughout the movie. This movie is also going into A tier, one of the great worlds in the Pixar universe. This movie is super overrated in my opinion and doesn't hold up to the standard that I always hear people talk about. I think the premise and environment really carry the movie and the concept is very creative. The biggest flaw in this movie to me is how dumb Sadness acts in the whole movie. I understand they don't want her to touch any of the memories, but she can't come up with a reasonable excuse, like she's saying she's curious or something. She just looks stupid and is just like, oh, I don't know. Like, what the hell is she talking about? At least you can say, you know, you want to know how it feels or something. The whole character of Sadness in the first half of this movie just felt really dumb and ruined the movie for me. This movie is not as good as people say, and it's going into the C tier for me. This movie is better than people say, unlike the first one. I enjoyed this movie way more than the first one. I think the best part of this movie is Anxiety, and she is one of the most underrated Pixar villains. She 100% succeeds at being that annoying villain that irritates and makes you root against them. Anxiety acts exactly how they should and fulfills the role of being a twisted, menacing antagonist throughout the whole movie. I liked how there was a lot more of the world explored in this movie, since it felt like the entire world was shown in the first one. This movie is better than I remembered since when I first watched it in theaters, and I will be sliding it into the B tier. I guess we can start with the newer generation of movies to build off the recency of Inside Out 2. Onward feels like the start to a new era of Pixar movies, since it came out in 2020. It still keeps that classic animation style that they keep until Luca, but I still feel like this is the start of the new era. Onward was way better than I remembered, and the world is such a nice concept. Having magic as a lost art because of the technology's convenience is a cool origin story for this world. I like how they explore the magic's history for the movie's plot, and the characters are solid. The story and world carried this movie for me, and it created a good film using decent characters. I didn't find any of the characters outstanding, but the story was good enough to slide this movie into the B tier for me. This movie is a super insane concept for a kids movie, as it explores the afterlife and birth in a fun way. Number 22 is the best character in this movie, and I like the journey between her and Joe. Moonwind is also a great character in this movie, and the concept of this world's afterlife is very good. The barbershop scene is my favorite, and I like how it shows that Joe talks too much about jazz and not about others' lives. This movie is good, and it also finds itself sliding into the B tier. This is the start of a new animation style for Pixar films. I think this movie had a decent plot, and my favorite part of this movie is the dad with one arm, and I really enjoyed watching his relationship with Alberto grow over his pasta. I think Eric Cole is a solid antagonist, but I think it was just weird that a grown-ass man is trying to lie to compete against kids. The biggest flaw in this movie for me is the animation style, as a lot of the characters just look so ugly to me. Luca's parents look so goofy and stupid as humans that it makes the sea monsters look like more regular beings. The plot and story was solid, but the ugliness of the animation drops it for me, so this movie slides itself into the C tier. I totally forgot that this movie was based on Toronto, and I really liked the introduction to this movie, since it made it seem like the story was going to be interesting. It was not. The mom in this film is so cringy and is overly strict for no reason. As an Asian person, I know how strict Asian parents are, and this mom seems so unrealistic. The gas station scene made absolutely no sense and was one of the most embarrassing moments in the whole film. This movie was obviously targeted towards the younger female audience and did a good job with that style and arc with her friends. I think this movie did its job being a fun movie for young girls, but that mom is unbearable and drops the film immensely. This movie is so good. I love the world in this film, and it's one of the coolest concepts for a world that I have seen. The story is good as well, but it definitely picks up in the second half. Wade was kind of annoying in the first half, but the second half of the film redeems his character. Ember's temper was also kind of confusing at first, as it didn't make sense to me since it seemed more like a superpower than a tantrum. And trust me, I've worked part-time before, and I would burst like that if I was made of fire. The world of Elemental is one of the most creative and beautiful atmospheres that Pixar has ever introduced, and it was very close to becoming an A tier, but the first half will drop it to the top of the B tier for me, almost like a 7.8 rating for me. The first half of this film is horrible. It felt so stupid and unbearable to watch, but the second half of this film is elite. It is so unbalanced, and Elio is so stupid, but that second half of the movie really makes you forget whatever happened in the beginning. I think that this movie has a super slow build-up, but that second half of the movie was very fun to watch in my opinion. Because of how awful the start was, I can't say it's a good movie, but it is solid because of the second half, so I'm gonna slide it into the C tier. I don't know why this movie never got a sequel, because it was good enough to deserve one. I like how Flint is introduced as someone who wants to make life easier for his colony, and the circus crew reacting to how the colony wants them to be killers is super funny. Hopper is a good villain, and I love how he has a clear weakness to build off of for the plot. The movie should have gotten a sequel because it was good. This will be going into the B tier. This movie is amazing. The characters are great, the story is great. My favorite scene in this movie is Anton Ego getting flashbacks when he first takes a bite of a Ratatouille dish. This movie has everything, and I love seeing the creativity of Remy and the relationship between him and Linguini. I could rewatch this so many times because of how amazing it is. This movie is going into the A tier. Absolutely phenomenal. Peak cinema. I love everything about this movie. I love how Wally collects all the cool things he found while cleaning trash. His relationship with Eve is adorable, and the evolution of humanity was hilarious to see. The other robots were also fun characters, and Eve's attempt to revive Wally was an emotional sequence to watch. I love to watch this film, and I cannot get sick of this movie. It is perfect, and will be the next S tier movie on this list. This was another important childhood movie to me, but I literally forgot everything about it. After a rewatch, I never want to watch that opening half ever again, because why did it have to be that sad? That was one of the most emotional scenes in Pixar, and I hate whoever approved of that tragedy. It's not a bad scene at all. I just hate being sad watching this. I think that Doug is my favorite in the film. Russell is funny, and it was nice to see Carl really push to make his dream with Ellie come true. The characters were great, and this movie is good, but not as amazing as I remember. It is going into the B tier since it is a good movie still, just not as elite as I remember. This marathon was the first time I ever watched this movie, and it isn't as bad as I heard. This doesn't really feel like a Pixar movie, since it feels like it belongs in that 3D animated Disney princess category with Frozen and Moana. This movie had a decent story, but it wasn't as strong as the other solo movies during that run. It isn't a bad movie at all, and I think it's a solid film, but it still drops into the C tier for me. This is one of the only movies I did not rewatch during this marathon, and solely due to the reason that it is one of the worst movies I've ever watched. This movie had a decent concept of the meteor missing Earth causing dinosaurs to live, but the overall movie was so boring. For a cool concept and also a studio that has elite stories, this movie was awful in every way and is the first movie going into the F tier. Absolute garbage. Now, on the other hand, we got this absolute cinema of a movie. The music, the story, the culture, everything about this film is amazing. I always shed a tear in that final scene of Miguel singing to Mama Coco, and her remembering her dad always makes me emotional and is the one scene in any movie that makes me cry. I love the plot twist in this movie as well, and it is such a good representation of the culture and concept about the Day of the Dead. This movie is amazing, and I cannot wait for the sequel. Another A tier for me. My friends always mock me because this movie was not part of my childhood at all. I know that this movie was important to a lot of boys growing up, but it wasn't for me. This movie is good, and I love the concept and characters. This movie probably doesn't hit as much as it does for others, so it's only a B tier for me. This movie isn't as bad as I remember, but it still feels unnecessary. I think the spy plot just did not match the vibes of the Cars universe, and I feel like it could have been more reasonable as a side movie, excluding the main characters like Mater and McQueen. I also don't know why the movie was so dark and just literally kills off characters, but it is one of the best parts of the movie, along with Mater's funny one-liners. This movie is much funnier and darker than I remember, but it's still odd and boring to me. This is going into the C tier for me, had decent things, but wasn't great story-wise. I think this movie could have been good, but had some unnecessary scenes. I didn't like how Lightning McQueen refuses to train, even though it makes sense for his character. I just felt like after he failed the simulation, that he would have locked in. I think the movie isn't bad though, it is still pretty solid. The movie is almost a B tier, but it's not as good as the first, so it's like a high 6. The start of Pixar and its most iconic series. This movie is good, and I love how twisted Sid is as a villain. I love the buildup of Woody and Buzz's relationship in this movie. This movie has such a great catalog of characters, and it is a perfect start to an iconic series. It isn't a great movie for me, but it is good nonetheless. Another B tier. This movie is also better than I remember, and is still a good movie. I like the Star Wars reference between Buzz and Zurg, even though Zurg felt a bit useless in the movie. I like how this movie goes through Woody's origins and how he is a historical character in the universe. Jesse, Bullseye, and Stinky Pete were great additions to this movie. My favorite in this film is Wheezy, but that's biased because I love penguins, and he gave us that iconic meme in this one. This is as good as the first in my opinion, so it'll be in the B tier as well. This should have been the last Toy Story film in the series because my god was it the perfect ending. The daycare characters were amazing antagonists and I loved the entire plot. The story obviously carries as it shows Andy's growth and how he is forced to stray further away from his toys. It's amazing to see how the toys try to relive all that playtime with Andy. The incinerator sequence is one of the most dramatic sequences ever and is a heavy example of how emotional this movie is. This is still the perfect ending to a series and is another S tier. Now, unfortunately, Pixar decided not to end it there. These movies were so unnecessary and really hurt the rankings for the movies. Toy Story 4 should have never happened and was not a good movie. It was super uninteresting and ruined the story even more by separating Woody from the group. It was not good and is going into the D tier. Lightyear, on the other hand, is abysmal dog shit. Easily the worst Pixar movie in my opinion and was literally awful in every aspect. Buzz being the main villain made no sense and the side characters were also awful. They said that this was the movie the actual Buzz Lightyear toy was based on in their universe, and now knowing that, I would literally shoot someone if they got me that toy in that universe. There is no way they could take such a good character and literally turn it into the worst story ever. The movie is a terrible kids version of Interstellar and takes the crown for the worst Pixar movie, moving straight to the bottom of F tier. That is all there is, so here's an overview of the entire tier list. This was a fun marathon to go through and I enjoyed most of the movies. There are absolute classics and also some of the worst movies of all time. I think that Pixar had an insane run in the 2000s because oh my gosh, look at that lineup of releases. I think that Bug's Life deserves a sequel still and Elemental is easily the most underrated film out of all of them. I'm not sure what marathon I would like to do next, but if you guys want to see YouTube shorts or reels of me ranking multiple movie series, then let me know in the comments. I could probably rank the Madagascar, Open Season, and Mighty Ducks films in those short videos. Also, let me know what mega marathon I should do next. I'm thinking either the Monsterverse with the new Godzilla and Kong films, or Marvel, but I know that the MCU would take forever to rewatch. But I've been enjoying doing this, so I cannot wait for what is next. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you're new to this channel, subscribe for more content and small streams. Leave a comment of how you would re-rank this list. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.